Lions, boy, oh boy, here we go. 9 straight wins. They do it again on the road. 6 straight wins on the road to start the year. 24-6 winners over the Indianapolis Colts. They're off to a 10-1 start. It is their best start in franchise history. How many more superlatives can you say about this team? Not their best game, not their best performance, but in the end, a dominating win.
They're bored. It was an AFC game. Bored.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
terrible game.
Yeah, it was one of those ugly games. It was a good game for the Lions. Let me start there. This was a really good game for the Lions. You see what the defense did? Defense still hasn't given up a touchdown in 3 weeks now. 3 weeks in a row, and especially in the second half. So the defense played lights out once they got a fix on what Anthony Richardson was doing. A lot of backups had to play in this game. Once again, there were some players that made tackles that I had to familiarize myself with that player. But it's one of those games, kind of like Matt says. And sometimes when people say that, hey, guys are just bored. The average fan, no disrespect, can't say, well, how did they get bored? They're supposed to execute on every play. You play a team that you don't usually play and a quarterback that's sporadic, you don't know what he's going to do. Sometimes you got to fill each other out. And this was one of those ugly games. They had to fill each other out on the road, but when the Lions figured it out, they rode the Indianapolis Colts. They'll figure things out on the offense side of the ball as well.
There was no way in hell that the Colts were going to win that game.
Nah.
No way. They went down the first drive like Jacksonville did, right? Like Houston did. And then the Lions were like, all right, we know if we keep this guy, let's let him throw the ball, he's going to miss 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 times he's going to miss. And he did. He got him on the run. He's a young kid. He's got talent, no question about it. Colts, they just can't stack up with the Lions. There's no way they could stack up with this team. But again, like I said from day one, the only thing that's going to beat this team is the injuries. And they are taking a beating. They are. Yeah. Other teams are as well. But I don't think as bad as this team has been taking it. But as you could tell, it's next man up. And this team is very deep. And we're going to have to watch and see what happens with the injuries from yesterday. You're already missing 2 of your best guys on defense. You don't want to lose Carlton Davis. You lost your best special teams guy. I don't know if it's official yet, but it didn't look good. Even Monty got banged up a little. He could have come in, but it's that time of the year. It's Thanksgiving. It's a short week. It's going to be great because they owe the Bears an ass kicking, and that's what they're going to give them. And then they're going to have a nice 10-day break, actually a week break, because they come back the following Thursday night and play the Packers. So this is going to be a fun time to be a Lions fan, man. Enjoy it, and let's just hope we get healthy. That's it, because that's the only thing in their way.
2 things. One about Anthony Richardson. Is it just me? And this is me watching him. It's the first time I've actually watched him for a full game and paid attention to him for 4 quarters. He's a guy that only started a couple games in college football, if I'm not correct. Yeah. I don't think he's learned the temperament of how to play the quarterback position. What I mean by that, after every play, you see him yelling at an offensive lineman. You see him yelling at a wide receiver. You see he and Jonathan Taylor not necessarily being on the same page. I understand that he's the quarterback of the franchise, and it is his team as of now. But you can't treat guys like that on every single play. You can't look like that. You just look so stressed. You look so frustrated. You look so out of place every single play. Even when guys have success. Like I saw guys make hell of a catches for him, and he's still yelling and worrying about something. He's got to get that under control, and I think part of it is because he only started as the head man in college just for a little time, and he was young. He's a very young quarterback, and he acts it on the field.
Kendall Vildor was like he gave up in the first half. Then he shut out in the second half.
Yeah.
So give him his due. He gave up 3 passes, 60 yards in the first half. He's subbing in for the kid, for Arnold, for Terry Arnold, who was out with a groin injury. Probably could have played. They know they're going to beat the Colts, so they sit him out, and I understand that. But let's take our hat off to him. He came back in the second half. 53-0. They're beating the last 3 opponents in the second half. That's pretty damn good considering you're down Hutchinson, you're down Anzalone, you're down Carlton Davis, and you're still shutting out guys 53-0. Fantastic.
Maz, I love that you love all the players. What is it about Kendall Vildor, specifically?
I was mad at you writing me yesterday.
That you hold on. Like, look. At the end of the day, he's a guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to disrespect anybody, but when you put him in position, he's out of place. How many throws did he have in the second half that Anthony Richardson overthrew wide receivers? If you want to be honest.
He did.
So let's not give Kendall Vildor some credit that he does not deserve. He got cooked in the first half, and in the second half, he wasn't in the places where Anthony Richardson rewarded him with bad throws. If you're going to shout somebody out, you better shout somebody that ball.
Still pitched a shutout in the second half.
They did. He did in that defense. That defense has been dominant, okay?
Yep.
10 straight quarters without a touchdown now. Aaron
shutout
Glenn
ball.
and this defense deserves their due. That's 2.5 football games this team is not allowed a touchdown, not even one. Here's Dan Campbell talking about that great defense.
I would highlight our defense first. I mean, there again, this is, whatever it is, 10 quarters without allowing a touchdown. 3 last games in the second half, we're not allowing it. So, man, we are, we talk about all the time, limiting points, play physical style, shut down the run. We're able to, it starts with AG and that staff, and then those players, man. We've been around each other long enough. They've been around each other to know exactly what we're looking for. We have an identity about us. We know the critical factors as it pertains to winning, and those guys take that stuff serious. And so, and we take next man up serious. Those guys know. It's why we, in practice, those guys get real reps.
It is pretty incredible, Braylon Edwards, what this defense is doing.
It is. I want to give a shout out to somebody. I watched the game, post-game. I saw Dan Campbell give out his game balls. I'm pretty sure we'll get into that in a moment. But one guy that didn't get a game ball was Lee McNeil. If you look at what his stats were, you won't see a game ball. You'll see a guy that had 1 tackle. You say, okay, you don't deserve a game ball for that. Quentin Nelson is one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL. He destroyed him. He destroyed him, dominated. Speaking of dominating in the division, he dominated him all game long. Jonathan Taylor had nowhere to run in the middle. Like, the Lee McNeil is.
I told you I shouldn't have started.
He did such a great. You're absolutely right. I stand corrected. He did such a great job. Lee McNeil, just wanted to send him some love because in the absence of, he is coming out and he's played ever since Aiden Hutchinson went down, and even before that. He's having a hell of a year, and he deserves the extension that he got.
Did you see AG at the end of the game sitting on the bench with his legs crossed? To me, I couldn't smile any more than I did when I saw that picture of him. That's a man who knows
he's going to another team.
He did his job.
Yeah.
His boys play for him, and no matter what you deal him, he's got a guy that's going to take over, and they're going to do just as well. Amazing job this year by the former New York Jet, Aaron Glenn.
And you always talk about, how do you win on the road? What do people always say about winning on the road? Your defense travels. This defense has been as stout as anybody in the National Football League. And I'll take it even a step further. Now, I know the Lions have not won the Super Bowl. I know they haven't been to a Super Bowl. But I think what we're seeing in 2024 so far this season is one of the most dominant teams this league has seen in the last decade. In the last 10 years of NFL football, I think the Detroit Lions are as dominant a team as there has been in this league. They just beat your tail. They just beat you into oblivion.
BTA.
The Indianapolis Colts had no chance in the football game.
You want a BTA?
No chance.
BTA.
BTA. That's exactly right. And, you want to run the football. You want to throw the football. You want to win an ugly game. You want to win a defensive game and offense. They'll beat you. And they'll beat you badly. And that's what we're seeing this Lions team do, is just beat you badly.
And then even when they're not playing well, let's not sugarcoat it. The offense did not play well in the first half. You saw how the half ended, and you see how the half started. They did not play well for a long time in that game. But it's still one of those situations where the defense knows how to pick up the slack for them. In offense, at some point they'll figure it out. Ben Johnson will make the adjustment necessary, and then he and Jared Goff will click. They made the adjustment. They started scoring some points towards the end of the game. But you just know they can win any type of game. And this is another game where not necessarily going well in the beginning, but don't worry, we'll relax, we'll figure it out. They don't stress. They don't fret. You don't never see them press. That Lions' offense is that good.
Oh, by the way, Jake Bates is pretty good.
Yeah. Who?
Yeah, there's no doubt.
56?
I mean, Jake Bates is good. There's no doubt. I mean, I'm just talking about the fact that this is not 2024 good. We are talking about the Lions as potentially one of the best teams of the last decade.
That's a fact.
That's who I'm comparing him to. I'm not comparing him to the Chiefs. I'm not comparing him to the Eagles. I'm not worried about the Packers. And worried isn't the right word. I'm just saying what they're actually doing on the football field is historically good, is decade good.
Here's a question. It's that good. How does this look with your starters? Have we ever taken a second to think about that? Like, how does this look if Davenport played this year? How does this look if Hutch stayed on the streak and the run that he was on?
Thought about the Hutch thing yesterday.
How does this look if Anzalone plays in the game yesterday? How does this look if Derek Barnes doesn't get injured? And you don't have to go to Malcolm Rodriguez, who's also playing his ass off, as we'll find out more and more. How does this look then? They've had injury after injury after injury and still get better and better and better. At least statistically, they do. So that's what I wonder. What does this look like if we don't have these injuries?
They need Carlton Davis, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
hopefully he reached for the behind his knee. That could be anything. That could be a part of a hamstring. It could be anything. And supposedly they'll get the imaging. Pardon?
You've been talking to Doc.
Dr. Pierce.
I see.
I'm right on it. When I get on, I call him right away.
That's a good one.
And I'm starting to learn about all this stuff. We got to hope that he's going to be okay. Maybe you sit him out against Caleb Williams this week on Thursday and let him rest up. And then you got to hope that Monty wants to play hard against the Bears.
He wasn't ready.
It's okay. You know what? Whatever. Kyle Brandt today on Good Morning Football, he said what we've been saying all year. The Lions are number one, and then it's a far distance to number two. He's like, I don't even know who number two is. It don't matter because the Lions are that much better than the number two best team in the league. That's pretty good.
Absolutely. Here's Dan Campbell in the locker room, guys. I mean, they are having some fun, and I think this is the first time I've ever seen Dan Campbell sort of take a minute to appreciate what they've done. Look at the question that he asks the players in that room and how many people raise their hand. It's not many.
That's a good job. That got us to 10. That's 10. That's 9 in a row. How many of you guys have won 9 in a row in here in the NFL? Raise your hand. Yeah, it's saying something. It's rare. All right, we're in rare air right now. All right, so we're doing something special, which we knew we would. There are little things to clean up. All right, but the most important thing is we found a way to get that W. I want to highlight just a couple of guys here. All right, the first one, man, defense, 8 total tackles. 7 of those were solos. Rodrigo, you played your ass off. Come up here.
Appreciate you guys. Let's keep it rolling, and love all y'all.
Good. Hey, we talked about field position was going to be big. Defense, that's a way to just keep them backed up, keep them pinned. So, Lamb, 4 punts, 192 yards, 48-yard average, all inside the 20. Jack Fox.
Love you guys.
When you played on another team, right, or you've coached on another team, it's just always special to come back and get the dub, man. It means a lot. So we're fortunate to have this guy. He's a huge asset. Assistant head coach, running back coach, Scotty Montgomery. Favorite team of all time, man. Love you guys. Love you guys. I read something this morning, and it was talking about a road, man, being on the road. And it brought me back, where's golf at? Saint, Soul, Frank, Deck, all. It brought me back to we were 2-6 in 2022. We had just beaten Green Bay at home. We had not won a road game in 2 years. AG, Ben, right? We had not run a road game in like 2 years. So what are you going to do? You know, now the thing is about road games. We were 0-11-1. 0-11-1 on the road, 21, half of 22. And then we went to Chicago and got it. We got our first dub, and since then we're 16-5 on the road, man. And every one of you are a part of that. Every one of you are a part of that. That's big, man. 16-5 on the road, all right? So we're road warriors. We're also damn good at home. Good win, man. That's number 10. All right, let's go.
That's 10, baby. Win on 3, 1, 2, 3. Win.
Wow. How about that? Huh? I love the part, how many people in this room have ever won 9 games in a row? I mean, that part alone is like, okay, let's take a minute to appreciate what we're doing here. I mean, and obviously the Detroit Lions as a franchise and won 9 in a row since 1934, man. You're coming up on 100 years.
Their first year in existence.
Yeah, you're coming up on a first year here in Detroit.
Yeah.
You know, that's almost 100 years ago. It's 90 years ago.
Yeah, 9 in a row, man. You just look at some of the numbers that the Lions have amassed, whether it's 9 in a row this season, whether it's 16-5. Look, you can have a good year on the road. Like, you can have a good season. You can have a good year and a half even maybe. But when you're 16-5 on the road, that's an identity. That's exactly who you are. When you look at the Baltimore Ravens and what they've done over the years, it's an identity. When you start looking at the records and things they do, with the exception to get to the Super Bowl. But That's an identity. They don't win. They don't lose on the road. They rarely lose at home. They don't lose on prime time. You see him going back to the moments. And I think for Dan Campbell, like you said, you can realize it's starting to hit home for him. Like, we really built this thing from nothing. Like, they really built this thing. You take over in 2021 after Matt Patricia, and you know what that thing was. We don't have to go back. But to take over, and it was nothing, absolutely nothing. And you've built this to where you know the whole country knows who the best team in the league is. It's the Detroit Lions by a landslide, and everyone knows. Dan Campbell built that.
How about the takeover again by the
I was
Lions
just
fans?
going there.
I mean,
Please.
It's blue and white. We know the Colts are blue and white. Lions are a different blue and white. They took over. The matter of fact, from what I understand, they had the whole upper deck.
Yeah.
And they took over the city. Dan Miller put something out on Friday and Saturday. Jen Hammond put it out. They're everywhere. It's like a family traveling. They all know each other. The tailgates, they own the road. I might go to Chicago in a few weeks.
And Jared Goff talked about that traveling fan base. They have taken over these stadiums.
Yeah, it's pretty dang cool on the road for regardless of them doing my chant or anything, like they're it's awesome to have a fan base that travels and makes a difference on the road. And I think I was thinking about this recently. Like, our fans don't just go to the game. Like, they go to the game to affect the game, and certainly do that at home. And then even today on the road, and I go back to Houston, in Arizona, like they show up to change the game, to affect the game, and they take it on themselves, and we love it. We love it. But yeah, the love they show me and the love they show our team is something I'll never take for granted.
The players really appreciate it, man. Yeah. They absolutely do. What's happening here with this team, Bray? It is pretty darn cool.
Yeah, when you have a team that shows up and they travel, like, you notice it. When I was playing for the Jets were okay at it. I'm not trying to throw any shade. They were decent on the road. Cleveland Browns weren't so good because we weren't so good. Mm-hmm. But when I got to the 49ers, that's the first time I really saw what it looked like to have, like, support on the road. And 49ers fans were nuts. They're still nuts. Shout out to them. They showed up on the road, and you could feel them in crunch time. You could feel them in crucial moments. You look in the crowd, and you say, okay, we have some supporters. It's something about seeing your fans on the road. It's something about being able to point out and say, all right, we got to dig deep. You know what I'm saying? We got people that came up. They came to show out for us, so we got to show up for them. And they got a lot of people, especially when you look at the Colts. Their uniforms are very similar. That's something that people said is the team needs to do a better job, I think they said, of letting them know ahead of time what the road jerseys are so that the fans can plan accordingly. Because a lot of times they said this game, you had a lot of people wearing blue. Mm-hmm. They said if they would have known that they were wearing white, everybody would have showed up in white. So I think that's what I've been hearing is Lions let the fans know so that they can be dressed accordingly for these games.
They do, like midweek.
Yeah, they said game week. They said last week they didn't find out until Friday.
Oh, really?
That's correct.
Yeah,
I knew they were wearing the whites.
And people were like already there now. So saying, yeah.
Normally they put out a tweet.
By the way, Michael Weary he wanted to remind me on the chat, Maz, we're not blue and white, we're blue and silver. Okay. I understand that. What'd they wear yesterday? Like, they wore blue and white. I'm good, though. I think I know the colors.
Dan Campbell talked about this team winning on the road. Here's what he had to say post-game.
Back to 22, and at that point we were 0-11-1 on the road. 0-11-1, and just thinking about that, and now I think we're 16-5 since then. And just that group of guys. I said something in the locker room about it, and looking at Goff and Frank and Deck and Sewell and Aleem and Saint, and it's like, man, you remember that. But all of those guys are responsible for the flip. Everybody that's in that locker room is responsible for it. And, it says a lot. If you can win on the road, you're normally a pretty damn good team, and we can win on the road.
Every week, man, they just do what they've got to do to win the football game and move on to the next one. It almost feels like this football season is flying by. You just kind of look up and you're like, 10-1. I still can't believe the Detroit Lions are 10-1 with a chance to win 10 straight games. This franchise hasn't won 10 straight since 1934.
Listen to me. I'll keep bringing it up. I know it was preseason, the Tampa Bay game in week 2, because it was still preseason for Jared Goff and no starters. They dominated that game. They won the total yardage. I think they outgained Tampa by 300 yards. They were like 0-6 in the red zone, and Jared Goff had his worst game. They still could have won that game. They should be unbeaten. Literally, they could be unbeaten right now, and they're going to go 16-1. They are.
I believe they are going to not lose again as well. And again, I hate to even make it as a topic and it's not a topic. Just the injury thing. Yesterday they got banged up. We'll see what happens with Khalif Raymond. We'll see what happens with Carlton Davis. It looked like Taylor Decker was okay. I mean, he did come back into the game. What does that mean for Thursday? I don't know, but you do get a sense that the only thing that's stopping this team is potential for injury. That's really it.
That is it.
Go ahead, man.
No, it's all you, buddy.
Hey, I think less is more. That is it. Like we've seen what the Lions have done on offense. You've seen when their players are out there. You've seen when their players aren't off. They dominate on offense. They dominate on defense. Special team is arguably one of the best units in the country, in the league as well. They win. They dominate. It is injuries. Every week you look up, there's another guy that is critical and crucial. Try to mix two words at the same time. Every week you look up, it's an Aiden Hutchinson, it's Alexander Zaloni, it's insert player here. I don't want to say any more names. I don't want to jinx it. So it's nothing that you can do to prevent that. You just got to keep playing to our lucky stars.
No doubt about it. All right, guys. Do the Lions have some competition in the NFC? How concerned